Thank you. Chair Hansen, let's move on to Standards and Assessment Committee.
Thank you. We have a few motions for the board. We'll start with item 13.3. That's our 277109 legislative reporting and accountability. This one is a continuation with no amendments at this time. The motion for the board is that the committee moves, the board approves and continues R 277109 legislative reporting and accountability draft 1 on second and final reading.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor that the board approves and continues R277-109 legislative reporting and accountability draft 1 on second and final reading. Do we have discussion to the motion? Seeing no lights, please vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes.
And next item, Vice Chair, we okay?
Please, yes.
Okay, next item for the board is 13.4. That's a sunset review and recommendation of LEA authority to refer minors to court for classic misdemeanors. Should be Class C misdemeanors, I believe. This provision, which gave LEAs the ability to refer juveniles to juvenile justice, was set to sunset. It was extended once, I think, and is now to sunset in July of 2022. Feedback from our LEAs has been such that they feel this is a great stopgap to be able, the numbers of referrals have been going down dramatically, but they feel this stopgap is still something they would like to keep. So the motion for the board is that the committee moves that the board recommend that the legislature repeal the sunset date for subsection 53G8-211.5 and allow the provision to remain in the statute.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor that the board recommends that the legislature repeal the sunset date for subsection 53G-8-211.5 and allow the provision to remain in the statute. Is there discussion to the motion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? No. We have one no, which is Board Member Straight. Chair Hansen?
Okay, next item for the board is this is 13.5, R277-712, competency-based grant programs. The motion for the board is the committee moves the board approve and continues R277-712 competency-based grant programs draft 3 on second and final reading.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor that the board continues and approves R277-720 reimbursement program for early graduation from competency-based education draft 3 on second and final reading. Is there discussion to the motion? Seeing none, please vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Chair Hansen?
Item 13.6, R277-720 reimbursement programs for early graduation from competency-based education. The motion for the board here is that the committee moves that the board continue and approve R277-720 reimbursement program for early graduation from competency-based education draft 3 on second and final reading.
Thank you. I think this was 13.5. There's a motion on the floor that the board continues and approves R277-720 reimbursement program for early graduation from competency-based education draft 3 on second and final reading. Is there discussion to the motion? Seeing none, please vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Chair Hansen?
That's all the items from our regular Standards and Assessment Committee meeting. We did have an extraordinary session. I believe we're going to deal with that on another action item. Well, thank you.
Is that the next? Okay, so are you? We didn't, okay, number 6 is written in this item as an action item. It's repeated
Sorry?
again later, so do we
So
don't do it?
we did not, we did not have a motion for the board from that item from our regular Standards and Assessment meeting. So my understanding was that's why we listed that as a separate item. And
Okay, so Chair Huntsman, do you want to do now this additional standards and assessment committee
The second
recommendation?
committee. Now we'll start that one. That's next.
Okay, and you're going to take over?
I thought you was doing it.
You want me to do it?
You bet. You're doing awesome.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
All right, I'll go ahead and do it then.
I'll do it. You want me to do it?
I'll do it.
All right.
We have our next agenda item, which is 14.1, which is resources for implementation of R277-328, educational equity in schools. Who is going to present this item? Is that you, Chair Hansen?
I would be happy to present. I'd ask for Deputy Superintendent Norman to come up and help with this one. But as I think the board is aware, we implemented R277-328 last month. We are in dire need of getting some training out on the rule to our LEAs. We attempted to finish that training in our first regular scheduled standards and assessment meeting, worked diligently at it, but we're not able to get through the entire training. So board leadership authorized a special meeting of the committee. We spent several hours into the wee hours of well, not into wee hours, I guess, into the late evening, late night, wee hours for us older folks on the committee. And we're able to come up with this draft of the training on the rule R277-328. This training is to be given in this format. There would be, I need to say now that we expect there would be some changes maybe to graphics and animations and that sort of thing, but this content and these speaker notes are the training that is proposed to be given to our LEAs to inform them of the requirements and their obligations under R277-328.
Great, thank you.
So the motion,
A motion came out of the committee.
yeah,
I have a blank recommended action on my sheet.
yeah. The motion is that the committee moves that the board approves the resources for implementation of R277-328 educational equities in schools document as presented.
Is that anywhere in our information, or can we get that on the screen?
It is in the agenda memo that has the 8/24 date on it, I believe.
I've seen it, and I'm trying to find it on
So it
board
says
docs.
USB Standards and Assessment Committee 8/24/21. No, down at the bottom of that.
In item 14, or,
I don't know, I just read it to you from the page. Hang on just a second, I think it's right down at the bottom. Yeah, motion for the board, it's on page 11 of 11.
at the very bottom?
Yeah, right where it tells you how late we stayed up that night.
8/24/21. Yeah,
Yeah, right there.
The last document.
on the very last page of the last document.
That's the motion.
Right before it says the meeting adjourned at 11:03.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor for the board to consider that the board approves the resources for implementation of R277-328, Educational Equity in Schools document. Is there discussion to the motion? Board Member Lear?
This is a question that it asks both about the discussion that was had and can't find the words in the speaker notes or on these slides, so if I'm out of line and this is beyond the scope, speak to me. But I have heard it said, and then I'm trying to think where it says this, that this is supposed to be a scripted presentation by an LEA, I'm assuming, for its teachers.
Question for Chair Hansen. Is this supposed to be a scripted presentation?
Yeah, the intent was that this would be scripted either on video or given verbatim from the speaker notes. So yes, scripted.
And yet, there are many places, and I wish I could find one readily, but there are many places where it says there are examples such as, or some examples are offered of a certain point. And that, to me, says that the person giving the presentation can add examples or use one example and not all examples.
That's certainly not the intent. All through our discussions, we expected that this would be given verbatim, and that in the future, there will be certainly some frequently asked questions, and we may need to modify this, and it would have to come through the board for approval. But no, this is scripted.
I personally, I don't have the words to make an amendment, but I think it is putting teachers in or whoever's going to be the presenter, if it's a district person or a lead teacher, or somebody.
Yeah, again, we spoke about putting this on video so that it would be like the UEN videos that we have
And
now.
that I just would beg you, whoever is going to be the final compiler of this, that it is clear that those examples are the only examples that are to be used. They're not illustrative of examples, because I think you're putting teachers and presenters in a very difficult situation if you suggest these are examples, but you might have others.
Board Lear, are you making an amendment, or are you just asking a request, kind of like we did in the last agenda item?
I don't have a place or the words to make that amendment.
Okay.
So I'm just asking that when this is
and-
compiled, as I was listening to that discussion only about 2/3 of it, I admit, and when I'm reading this document, that is not clear as I'm reading it. And the last thing I want is teachers punished for our ambiguity.
Thank you.
So that's what I
I
meant.
see some nods around the room, so it sounds to me that there is a way to make that clear.
Okay?
And,
Okay. And when there is a final document, I'm happy to be more specific or have an amendment for it or something.
Thank you. Board Member Earl?
I have some amendments.
Okay.
I have a couple, so would you
Do
like
we,
those now?
do we have someone who's going to are they already typed up and someone has them to put them up on the?
I did send them to Jeff. There is just maybe a couple little wording things so that they fit in the script. The first one is on note 4, and it's under age appropriate. There was considerable dialogue about what age appropriate means. Kind of looked in a lot of places to try to find age appropriate, and it's kind of a personal definition, really, depending on who the teacher is, anyways, what the course is, that kind of a thing. I would just suggest we add in here at the very end, where it says developmentally appropriate, we add reflective of family values. I know values may not be the ideal word, but I don't know that there's another word that speaks to that, because really, I mean, it's kind of like Santa Claus, right? A little bit, everybody has their own way, and if there's a better word besides values to interpret that, and I'm speaking to this. Anyways, that's my motion. I guess I got to have a second.
Is there a second?
It's slide 4.
Slide 4 in the model training slide deck. Draft 3. Thank you. Do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
Board Member Moss is seconded. Do we have discussion to the amendment? Board Member Lear?
I still can't find it, but I'm trying to decide whose family values. My family values, a single parent's family values, a single gender family's family values. I think that is a very loaded term.
The answer is yes, but no, it really is, because when you talk, can I speak?
Please.
When you talk age appropriate, when we're just using broad terms, are we talking an educator's age appropriateness, which most, I don't know, there's varying levels of that too. So I just think taking into consideration or reflective of, it doesn't require, but there is a certain reflection in that.
But
So-
if I can
Thank you.
ask a follow-up?
We have one quick follow-up, and then we've got a couple more
I'm
lights
still
on.
not clear about how you define family values based on, there's so many families in this picture. What kind of a family? Whose family?
Okay, let's go hear from Board Member Straight, and then Deputy Superintendent Norman. Board Member Straight first.
Thank you. So we had this discussion at the time, and, there are professional standards on what is age appropriate. When a teacher goes through training to become a teacher, that is a discussion, that is a topic. Is it absolutely clearly delineated? No. But it's at least, in this case with family values, that is so nebulous. I think it's more nebulous than age and developmentally appropriate. I think that can have some parameters, but that's a discussion. If a teacher is outside of the scope of what is age appropriate, that is a discussion that can be had. If you look at the formation of Portrait of a Graduate, in Portrait of a Graduate, it actually defines by age level what is appropriate in regards to, for example, responsibility, or whatever the topic is in Portrait of a Graduate. So I am all for family values, especially my own. But in essence of this training, I think that's way too nebulous.
Thank you, Dr. Nortman.
Deputy Superintendent Patty Norman. In speaking to this, I just wanted to bring to the attention of all board members, in tomorrow's discussion in the Standards and Assessment Committee meeting, it's agenda item, I think, 1.6-ish, which is definitions that are going to be going forward with equity, diversity, and inclusion. So if you look right here, here's a graphic that's up here. So this isn't a one-step process. This was meant to be the overview that would be recorded digitally in an animated way with this exact narrative that's on here. So someone would read this exact narrative and have the animations that go forward. Then it's available for asynchronous viewing at any time, or it could be viewed synchronously with someone directing that so that if there's questions that are involved, but everyone would receive the exact message. The reason why I bring this up is if you look at step 2, the guiding framework and the model trainings for equity, diversity, and inclusion, there is a list of definitions tomorrow that the Standards and Assessment Committee will be reviewing. One of those definitions after the discussion on the 24th was the fact that age appropriate was not defined. So you can have that discussion now as to what the definition of age appropriate is, or it can be had tomorrow during the discussion item where it's on that list with some tentative definitions that are on there.
Chair Hansen, do you have a preference if that's addressed now or in committee tomorrow?
I would.
And then we
prefer-
really need to get back to this motion
Yeah,
for
no,
the
that's,
amendment.
I'm speaking to the motion as
Okay,
well, but
okay.
I think that we are prepared to handle this in the definition section and get some more detail. But if you look just above, on the slide we were looking at, just above where it says age appropriate, it also says parental transparency. And I really envision that there's going to be a process that's worked out on a local level where parents see what's being presented, concerns are brought to the LEA or the teacher's attention, and age appropriate kind of gets worked out in some method. I don't know that we're going to come up with an exact definition, because if I talk to 10 parents on my street, age appropriate in their homes is totally different. And it's just going to have to be worked out through that kind of a give and take process, I believe. But I think we'll get some better wording for age appropriate when we do the definition section. So my comment.
Thank you. We are speaking to the amendment to add the words reflective of family values. Board Member Moss.
Well, this may be resolved tomorrow, but just briefly, the term family values is vague, certainly, but it's also qualitatively different than professionals, and I respect professionals, but the question of what's age appropriate is also, I think, something families are very concerned about. So I like the amendment just because it throws that in the mix. It says, okay, when you consider age appropriate, don't just read the psychological journals. Ask about the families in your neighborhood. They may be entirely different than those in my neighborhood, and there may be 20 different ideas of what those families are. I just like the reference. It would say, okay, look at the professional literature, but also think about the families in your community. So that's the reason I support it.
Seeing no other lights, we have an amendment on the floor to amend R277-328, Educational Equity in Schools document to read, or to add the words reflective of family values in the age-appropriate section. I don't know if that's how you stated it in the first place, but those in favor, please vote.
Yes.
Those opposed? No. Okay, let's have the ayes raise hands, please. Okay, I'm going to do a roll call vote.
No, well, no, I think you can, no, I think you can call it out. So eyes, raise your hand and then read them.
Would you be okay if I just did a roll call vote?
Yeah, you can do a roll.
Okay, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Laura Belknap.
Aye.
Randy Booth. Janet Cannon. No. Natalie Klein.
Yes.
Jenny Earl.
Yes.
Scott Hansen. No. Molly Hart.
Yes.
Mark Huntsman.
No.
Stacy Hutchings.
Yes.
Matt Hymas.
Yes.
Carol Lear.
No.
Jim Moss.
Yes.
Kristen Norton.
Yes.
Brent Straight.
No.
And I'm a yes. And did I call you?
Yeah.
Okay. So that motion passes, that amendment passes. We
Let's see
had
your
1,
list.
2,
Say
3,
your-
4, 5 noes. The noes are Janet Cannon, Scott Hansen, Mark Huntsman, Carol Lear, and Brent Straight. We have a motion on the floor to we have a motion for the board that the board approves the resources for implementation of R277-328 Educational Equity in Schools document as amended. Is there discussion to the motion? Board Member Earl.
I have an amendment on slide 6.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, just one second, I gotta find the exact location. Okay,
Point
where
of
is
order,
the,
Chair?
maybe it's not slide 6.
I'm
hang
not
on.
able to find this document that you're showing on the big screen here. Can you lead me to where I can find that so I can see what's being,
Sorry, it would be
We have a point of
slide
order.
7.
This amendment is going to be on slide 7. And again, it is on the model
I couldn't find it. So
equity
to
training.
the, because I couldn't find it.
This is, my amendment would go at the very end, after high expectations for all students, and it states, inclusion does not mean the implied or active use of symbols or artifacts to promote an ideology, political viewpoint, or an association of a special interest group within Utah public schools.
Shows the slides, but it's not showing the notes.
Discussion to the motion? Board Member Hanson?
Did I send that one? I'll read it again.
Oh, do we have a second? No, Board Member Klein is the second. We'll write
Do you want me to
that
read
down,
again?
Sybil.
Inclusion does not mean the implied or active use of symbols or artifacts to promote an ideology, comma, political viewpoint, or an association of a special interest group within Utah public schools, period.
Thank you. We have a second, which is Board Member Klein, and we have Chair Hansen would like to speak to the amendment.
And I'm speaking against the amendment, but certainly not against defining words more precisely. We just have another mechanism set up to do that, rather than try to define all the words within this presentation. We have a glossary that's being worked on. It's on our agenda for this week. So that would be my comment here and I
Thank
guess against the amendment.
Thank you, Board Member Cannon.
Oh, I'm sorry, I still can't find this. They said download it, it's not showing up anywhere. My colleagues on either side haven't found it either.
Do we not have these amendments pre-done? Do you want us to wait for you to find this section, Board Member Cannon, or can we move forward with the vote?
Not to mention the fact that we haven't seen it for just this minute.
Vice Chair Davis,
Yes,
can I
please.
ask Board Member Hanson, you're saying there is, this is going to be in there, this is going to be, that this will include?
Thank you, Board Member Earl.
Yeah, just a comment. I know that this is one area that we've been asked specifically as far as the displaying of symbols and such in the classroom, especially where we only address it briefly towards the end of this. I feel like this is a key area we're seeing in our schools right now. To address this here, I don't think is beyond the reach of what we should be doing and include it in tomorrow's discussion. And so I think this is an important place to do that.
Thank you, Board Member Lear.
Point of order, though, we haven't seen it. We've not had a time to digest it or see it in context. We can't even find it now. And I feel very uninformed in terms of being asked to vote.
Thank you. Board Chair Hanson?
Or Huntsman.
Huntsman?
Thank you. And I'm a little bit concerned myself also because this is starting to get into definitions where they really important to get them pounded out. But I read this and I'm thinking, I'm up there by Hill Air Force Base.
Okay, can we have quiet in the room so Chair Huntsman can speak? Please, if you are having a sidebar conversation, can you whisper, please?
Well, thank you, because I can hear myself speak then, I guess. I've got things cranked up. Now, my concern is for an example, you could have Hill Air Force Base come in. Whenever they kind of come in, whether it's Veterans Day or whatever it is, they bring symbols with them. They go everywhere with symbols. Somebody out there is going to grab this and say there's a political something or there's a something this way. And guess what? Those veterans, and there's a bunch of them, that different organizations that have symbols, somebody isn't going to like the military. Somebody's not going to like something. They're going to say this is a political point of view, and this violates your rule. And so here
Thank
we
you.
are again. So I think it's really
We're trying to solve it. That's a big problem. So I
Okay.
think if you could let Chair Hanson.
the chair can cut me off. So I can stop my conversation, but that's my concern. I'm just thinking anything and everything that comes onto school property that's got symbols of something, and a lot of times you have businesses that walk in. Some people might not like Amazon. Here comes their symbol because they have it, or their kids or something. I'm kind of concerned here, just
Okay.
a little bit.
Thank you.
So that's my concern.
Thank you for expressing that concern. So we have a technical difficulty. When it was uploaded, it is uploaded so that we can't actually see it in the board view. And do we have confirmation if the public can see it in the public view or not?
So if I can clarify,
It-
Vice
we-
Chair.
I saw all the slide notes, but what we couldn't see were the speaker notes that goes with the slides.
Yeah, it appears that something in Civic Clerk, even though it's uploaded as a PowerPoint document, when it's downloaded, it comes out as a PDF, and the speaker notes may not be shown for some people, depending on your access level, because staff pulls it up, they can see all the speaker notes. I can't get the speaker notes on the computer here.
So
I
we're
don't
working on
know
a
if-
document the public hasn't
So if
seen.
the public has not seen the speaker notes, then, and if we can clarify that, if they haven't seen it, I think I'll move to table this until next month. I don't think we have a choice.
Has the public seen the speaker notes? All she sees is the PDF as well.
And
So I'll
is-
entertain the motion.
Is there a way to go in through the public portal or Okay. Because we're certainly obligated to let the public see what's in the speaker notes before we take any action.
Yeah. And you could make a motion to postpone, Chair Hanselman saying. Still.
I just double checked, the public view cannot see the speaker notes as well.
Okay. I'll move to table this until next board meeting.
The second, Board Member Cannon, there's a motion on the floor. I don't know if we can table or if we need to postpone. We're looking that up right now.
Well, to table it, it goes on a table, and then you have to make a motion to
Bring it
remove
back.
from the table, so you have to come back to the body. If you make a motion to postpone until, and then you can also set a date, a
Yeah,
condition on that.
That's
motion.
fine. We can do it with the postpone. That's a more definite way to do it.
Better
I'll
off,
make a
yeah.
motion to postpone
Right?
until the
And just for
October
your
board meeting.
Awareness, to kind of help, you guys all have your new member orientation and some of those guides. And keep it out here if you guys ever want to use any of these.
In all of your extra time,
So there's a motion, you have a motion.
we have a motion on the table to postpone the discussion of R277-328 Educational Equity in Schools document until next month board meeting. I have a question. Would anything about that motion preclude the committee from continuing to do their work on the things they're going to work on tomorrow? The answer is no. So the motion on the table with a second by Board Member Cannon is that the committee moves to postpone the discussion of R277-328 Educational Equity in Schools document to postpone to the October board meeting. Discussion to the motion?
Just quick discussion. I don't believe that we could take any action on this today. So I think that we'll have to go back and redo anything that we have taken because it wasn't put out for the public. So that we did take one vote on an amendment that I think would have to nullify.
She can get the notes through the public view, but she can't.
I think it's system dependent too, and computer dependent, so it's inconsistent with the public.
Okay, the motion on the floor is to postpone to the October meeting. Discussion to the motion.
Yeah,
Board
again-
Member Straight. Oh, sorry, go ahead,
Again,
Chair
I'd just
Hansen.
like to get a clarification on the action. We took some action on this today, and I don't know that we can do that if we're going to postpone the whole item. So it's just,
So
it's
it
a,
comes back, you have one amendment to this.
it will come back with that
As amended.
amendment. Okay, got it.
Board Member Straight.
I'm not sure if this is appropriate, so stop me if I am, but I would like to suggest that when we come back, that since we took one vote, my understanding is that continues on when we pick up.
Unless someone amends to change it, is that?
Okay, so that's in there. We do not have family values as a definition for tomorrow's work group. That will put us behind. So how can we have that discussion of a definition of family values so that we can keep moving this forward?
So in a parliamentary question, can they add a definition that wasn't on the agenda to previously discuss tomorrow in their committee? Yes, you may.
Item
You,
for tomorrow is a glossary, so we can.
so you may work on that in your committee.
Sounds like a long discussion.
You're not going to be able to do it. You can't define it. They're all different. It's not going to be able to be monitored. We have a motion on the floor to postpone R277-328 Educational Equity in Schools document to, as amended, to the October board meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Did I miss you? I'm sorry. Well, I'm happy to return the microphone back over to Chair Huntsman.
Wonderful job.